The summer of 1995 settled over Havenwood, Iowa, a town so quiet it almost hummed with an eerie perfection. Nestled amidst rolling cornfields and framed by ancient, untouched woodlands, Havenwood prided itself on its impossibly low crime rate and its close-knit, almost idyllic community. It was the kind of place where people left their doors unlocked, where children played until dusk, and where nothing truly bad ever happened. Until it did. Eleanor Ellie Hayes was a meticulous, somewhat reclusive single mother. She kept her small, two-story house on Maple Drive spotless, her life ordered, a quiet fortress against a world she didn't quite trust. Her daughter, Chloe, was a free-spirited 20-year-old, home from college for the summer, bringing with her a vibrant energy that often clashed with Ellie's reserved nature. And with Chloe came her best friend, Maya, a budding photographer with a curious, almost obsessive interest in local urban legends and the hidden corners of Havenwood's history. The morning of August 17th broke with the usual chirping of cicadas and the distant drone of lawnmowers. But for Eleanor's next-door neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, something felt off. Ellie was always out tending her prize-winning roses by 7 a.m. This morning, the garden was still. A quick call to Ellie's landline went unanswered, a knot of unease tightening in her stomach. Mrs. Bryce Henderson walked across the manicured lawn. The front door of Ellie's house stood ajar. What Mrs. Henderson found inside wasn't a crime scene in the conventional sense, but something far more unsettling. The house was quiet, almost unnaturally so. The television murmured softly in the living room, a late-night talk show playing to an empty couch. Ellie's bed was neatly made, the quilt smoothed perfectly, as if she had just stepped out for a moment. But in Chloe's room, the shared bed she and Maya had occupied looked like they simply walked away mid-sleepover. An unfinished bowl of popcorn sat on Chloe's nightstand next to a stack of unread magazines. All personal belongings, purses, wallets, keys, IDs, were found inside, untouched. There were no signs of forced entry, no struggle, no broken windows, no blood. It was as if three women, bustling with life just hours before, had simply ceased to exist. Detective Miles Corbin, a quiet, experienced detective who had moved to Havenwood from a bustling city for the promised peace, arrived on the scene. He'd seen dozens of missing persons cases, but this one felt profoundly different. The absence of chaos, the eerie order of the house, spoke to him of something beyond human understanding. It was a vanishing act of impossible perfection. As he moved through Ellie's pristine bedroom, his gaze landed on a small, antique brass compass resting oddly on her pillow, pointing vaguely north. It felt out of place, an unsettling anomaly in a scene that defied all logic. Corbin picked it up, its cold weight feeling strangely significant. The ghost house, as locals would soon call it, had just begun to reveal its first cryptic clue. The vanishing of Eleanor Hayes, Chloe, and Maya shattered Havenwood's serene facade. The news spread like wildfire, igniting a frantic nationwide search operation. State police, the FBI, and countless bewildered volunteers combed every inch of the quiet town and the surrounding cornfields and forests. Weeks bled into months, but the search yielded absolutely nothing. No witnesses, no stray footprints in the dew, no tire tracks leading away from the house. It was as if three vibrant lives had simply evaporated into thin air, leaving behind only questions that grew more perplexing with each passing day. The Hayes' house on Maple Drive, once a symbol of suburban tranquility, became a chilling landmark. The ghost house, where dreams simply disappeared. Detective Corbin, haunted by the inexplicable cleanness of the vanishing, revisited the scene countless times. Beyond the antique brass compass he'd found, a few other oddities persisted, clinging to his mind like burrs. That unfinished bowl of popcorn next to Chloe's bed, almost a taunt, suggested a movie night that had ended with impossible abruptness. Several neighbors, when pressed, vaguely recalled a strange, faint, almost melodic hum coming from the direction of the Hayes house during the night of the disappearance. Most had dismissed it as distant farm machinery or imagination, but one retired sound engineer, a Mr. Peterson who lived 2 streets over, insisted it was a low-frequency sonic resonance, unlike anything natural. He theorized it could subtly affect human perception. The brass compass, a relic that seemed to hold its own secrets, became a focal point for Corbin. He painstakingly traced its origin back to a local antique dealer, an eccentric old woman named Agnes who ran a cluttered shop on the edge of town. Agnes remembered the compass vividly. It had come from a mysterious, reclusive old man who lived deep in the secluded woods on Havenwood'S periphery. Silas Agnes had called him, a hermit known for collecting odd, esoteric items and whispering about ancient, forgotten lore. He said it was a traveler's guide to unseen paths, Agnes recounted, her eyes wide. Driven by a growing sense of unease, Corbin delved deeper into the lives of the vanished women. He discovered a hidden layer to Ellie Hayes, the meticulous mother. Tucked away in a locked box in her closet, he found a meticulously kept journal. Its pages, filled with Eleanor's elegant script, detailed a recurring, unsettling dream she'd had for years. She described standing on a threshold in a house, feeling a strange magnetic pull, and seeing a fleeting, shadowy figure beckoning her towards a different kind of journey. The final entry, scrawled just before she vanished, mentioned the dream becoming more vivid, more real. Almost as if the threshold was no longer just a dream, but something she could touch, something that hummed. The truth, Corbin was beginning to suspect, lay not in what was taken, but in what had called to them. The trail of the missing women had gone cold, conventional police work offering no solace. Detective Corbin, now battling the growing skepticism of his superiors, knew he had to follow the most unsettling clues. His journey led him deep into the ancient, untouched forest bordering Havenwood, to the secluded cabin of Silas Blackwood. The old man, frail but with eyes that held an unnerving clarity, was tending a small, wild garden. He was immediately dismissive of modern technology, preferring the whispers of the wind through the pines. Corbin showed him the antique brass compass. Silas's eyes lit up with a knowing, almost unsettling glint. He spoke in riddles, his voice a dry rustle like autumn leaves. Some places, he mused, gesturing vaguely towards the dense woods, the veil is thin. The old paths are reopening. He spoke of how some don't just disappear, they simply step aside, pulled by forces beyond human comprehension. He hinted at certain geographical features in Havenwood, specific thin places that acted like doorways between worlds, places where the very fabric of reality seemed to fray. Desperate for any lead, Corbin then revisited Maya's photography notes, found among her belongings. She had been documenting local urban legends for a college project, a fascination that now seemed disturbingly prophetic. Her notes were filled with tales of vanishing roads and phantom houses in Havenwood's history. Stories of people who simply disappeared while driving or camping in the woods, leaving behind their vehicles or campsites, but never a trace of themselves. Maya had been particularly fixated on a specific, oddly symmetrical stone formation deep in the Blackwood Forest, an ancient circle of rough-hewn stones, almost like a natural amphitheater. Her notes hinted at local lore connecting the hum to this formation. Mr. Peterson, the retired sound engineer neighbor, corroborated Maya's subtle findings. He insisted the faint hum he'd heard on the night of the disappearance was indeed a low-frequency sonic resonance, unlike any natural sound. He now theorized, based on his knowledge of acoustics, that such a frequency, amplified by specific geological formations or even the structure of a house, could affect human perception, causing disorientation, a feeling of being pulled, or even auditory hallucinations. He even produced complex diagrams of how sound waves could create localized atmospheric distortions. The implications of Peterson's theory, combined with Silas Blackwood's cryptic warnings and Maya's research, sent Corbin back to Ellie's journal. The entries grew even more unsettling towards the end. She described the shadowy figure in her dreams becoming more distinct, almost inviting her to cross a threshold. The last entry before she vanished mentioned feeling an irresistible pull towards the sound of a deep hum coming from within her own house. She had referred to the compass on her pillow as a guide, an object she had somehow known she needed. The pieces, though chilling, were beginning to fit together. The house on Maple Drive wasn't just a place they disappeared from. It was the very epicenter of their vanishing, a gateway to something unknown. The scattered, unsettling clues finally began to coalesce into a chilling, almost supernatural hypothesis that defied every logical instinct within Detective Miles Corbin. The antique brass compass, the ubiquitous hum, Ellie's prophetic journal entries, and Maya's fascination with local legends, all pointed towards a truth far more profound and terrifying than a simple abduction. Corbin, now convinced the compass was more than just an antique, revisited it under a powerful magnifying glass. There, on its worn underside, he discovered minute, almost invisible etchings, tiny, intricate symbols that uncannily resembled the unique, oddly symmetrical stone formation Maya had been studying deep in the Blackwood Forest. It was a breakthrough. The compass wasn't just a guide, it was a key, activating or reacting to specific energy points, leading not to a physical destination, but to something else entirely. Dr. Vance, a new expert brought in to analyze the strange sound phenomena, made a crucial connection. She linked Mr. Peterson's precise data on the low-frequency sonic resonance to ancient, naturally occurring geological frequencies specific to the Havenwood area. These frequencies, she explained, were amplified by the very stone formation Maya had researched. When these frequencies reached a certain resonance, they could create localized atmospheric distortions, disorienting human perception, causing profound emotional effects, and even subtly altering the perceived reality of a space. It was like standing at the edge of a rippling pool, where the reflections weren't quite right. Silas Blackwood, when presented with these scientific theories, nodded with a grim, knowing satisfaction. He revealed that Ellie's house was built directly on top of what local indigenous tribes had for centuries called a threshold point, a place where the veil between worlds or dimensions was exceptionally thin. The hum, the compass, and Ellie's recurring dreams were all converging on this single, powerful location. He spoke of ancient beings, or perhaps simply inhabitants of another dimension, that occasionally bled through or pulled individuals who were susceptible or in a certain state of mind, those who unknowingly resonated with the threshold. They weren't malicious, Silas calmly explained, just different. They simply wished to collect those who were ready to step through. The distorted image from Maya's camera, the blurred figure at the back window, was further enhanced with new technology. It revealed the shadowy figure more clearly than ever before. Tall, gaunt, its form wavering like heat haze off asphalt, its limbs impossibly long, its face an indistinct void. It wasn't menacing, but rather beckoning, almost inviting. It was standing in the living room, directly in front of the window, extending a long, thin arm. The final, corrupted frames of Maya's roll suggested Chloe and Maya had indeed seen it, tried to resist, but were ultimately overcome, not by violence, but by the pervasive hum and the figure's silent, magnetic pull. They didn't flee the house, they were drawn to it, willingly, almost peacefully, stepping across an invisible boundary. They hadn't been abducted from the house, they had been ushered through it. Despite Detective Miles Corbin's compelling, albeit unprovable, theories about a threshold point and unseen forces, the official investigation into the Havenwood disappearances reached an insurmountable dead end. The Havenwood authorities, unwilling to entertain anything beyond conventional crime, closed the case as an enduring, baffling missing persons incident. The national media eventually moved on, leaving the town to grapple with its inexplicable loss. The ghost house on Maple Drive stood empty, its windows like vacant eyes, a chilling monument to the inexplicable. Detective Corbin, however, was forever changed. The case consumed him, stripping away his big city cynicism and replacing it with a quiet, haunted understanding of the unseen. He resigned from the Havenwood force, dedicating his life to researching thin places, unexplained disappearances, and the bizarre whispers of forgotten lore. He often visited the ancient stone formation in the Blackwood Forest, always carrying the antique brass compass, convinced it held the key to more than just the haze vanishing. Sometimes he would report hearing the faint melodic hum, feeling a subtle, almost irresistible pull towards the seemingly empty spaces between the trees. He became a quiet, solitary expert on the fringes of the paranormal, a man who had seen the impossible and was forever condemned to search for its answers. The Springfield Three, now known in local lore as the Havenwood Vanishings, became a deeply unsettling urban legend. Locals told tales of the ghost house and strange occurrences near the woods, of fleeting shadows glimpsed from the corner of the eye, and a faint, almost melodic hum heard on quiet, humid nights. The town, once so proud of its safety, was now shadowed by the profound unease of knowing that its peace was merely a fragile illusion, that something unseen could simply reach out and take what it desired. Years later, a new family, fresh-faced and optimistic, moved into the ghost house, drawn by its quaint charm and the seemingly perfect suburban neighborhood. They were oblivious to its chilling history, to the whispers that clung to its walls like forgotten cobwebs. One quiet evening, a young girl, the daughter of the new family, found a small, antique brass compass tucked under her pillow. It was a curious, beautiful thing, a treasure from her new home. That same night, the girl began to hum a strange, unfamiliar tune, a melody that resonated with the very air around her. Her parents, initially charmed, grew subtly uneasy as she began to speak of a friendly shadow man at her bedroom window, beckoning her with a silent invitation to come and play. The final scene shows the antique brass compass on her bedside table, its needles slowly, almost imperceptibly, turning to point directly at the open bedroom door towards the hallway. As it settled, a soft, rhythmic hum began to fill the quiet house, a low, resonant thrumming that pulsed from the very foundations, growing steadily louder. The path, it seemed, remained open, and the journey of the Threshold House had begun anew, promising further unseen abductions.